Hey everyone, Arthur Fantastic here, and welcome to a new ongoing series which I am about to entitle Jitz in the Pit, Catch as Catch Can, where we're going to study grappling techniques. We're going to try to put it together in a big picture type of way and try to connect dots that maybe people haven't seen before. And this is overall the theme of what I'm doing with a lot of the videos that I'm creating right now, which is connecting wrestling to jiu-jitsu and connecting karate to wrestling. In this video, I'm going to be connecting something that Ryan Hall said about his prediction and his argument for a different kind of meta from the bottom. As well, I'm going to add to his statement with my own words, but also an almost supporting statement of Craig Jones. We're going to take a look at a video from B Team after that, which shows the same shape. And then finally, we're going to take a look at a grappling match from One Championship that has the same shape, the same position, but used in a different way. And finally, we're going to connect it all back to wrestling, because this chain of scenarios or positions, you know what I mean, which you have to, or, you know, I wouldn't, how would you put it? Like a queen's gambit in chess. It's a certain scenario, but there's obviously multiple moves off of that small sequence that can lead into other sequences and other scenarios that now you are now prepared from, and you can take it from one to another via this conceptual understanding. So we're going to start with Ryan Hall, Mr. Ryangle, Dr. Ryangle. I don't even remember if that's what it was. I remember Ryangle. I remember the old ads for his instructionals. Let me not go too deep on my fanboying. I respect Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall is a legend both in the grappling world and in the MMA world, for his very unique style of grappling. It's very cerebral. And I think a lot of people can appreciate this who are nerds of the craft.
Your hip escape oftentimes is going to be better replaced with simply this. Turning away, putting the side of your body in the way, or even the turtle shell, and then using that to deal with the pressure. Because what I would say is, so if I'm in side control, Bernard, if your head in, like, this is terrible. Now we're going to try to take my back, you're going to lean on me, but at least I feel more athletic. At least I don't feel like immediately crushed. But this is what I would have done years ago. I'd have like, oh, cool. And then, you know what? Yep. And now you're going to be nice. What happens now? Right. I put myself back in a position where my body's basically a catcher's mitt. So what I would say is, in addition to the fact that you're, generally speaking, have no power here anyway, even if you have power, the level of power you have compared to the grown man leaning on you, just trying to crush you into the floor, is pretty silly. It's very small. So generally speaking, the hip escape, as we're traditionally taught, I would strongly encourage you guys against using. I would encourage you guys to start to approach the situation much more like it's wrestling, turning away and learning how to defend your back. I think you're going to get a lot more mileage out of that.
Wow. Ryan Hall is just literally saying, start wrestling, you noob. Wrestling has its advantages. I know that a lot of people have some type of, oh, but you're going to get choked out that way, getting up that way. We're going to let Craig Jones answer that in a moment. But first, I want to let this play in the background, and we're going to discuss the position they actually go into. We're going to watch him sit up, swim his arm through, and boom, the position that we're in. We have the hips facing in a T style to, or in kind of sliding into the spectrum of trying to get up and face your hips away into a 4-point position. There's a lot of things you can do from here. He's got a hook on the far foot over here. Whoops. And he's got a post right here with the far arm, which is basically like a combat getup, or you might call it a hip heist position, where these 2 points can be swiveled out, this hand can go down, and this knee can slide through underneath, and now you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-point position. Notice one of his points was he is in a more athletic position. Overall, we can see he's in a more athletic position. But how is he in a more athletic position? He's got his shoulders off the mat, right? He has some control. Whoops, don't want to go out of there. Some control in terms of his base. He has some control over his opponent here and here, some at least. And he has space to move. And he has space to move in all of these directions. Where he's not holding him, specifically here, is the most likely route out, which involves him, once again, putting this hand to the ground, swiveling this one out so it's behind him, and he's in a 4-point position. And he can rug rat his way out or up by doing a technical stand-up, folk style wrestling or freestyle wrestling, whatever form of wrestling you want to cite. I mean, even cultural wrestling styles from the middle of nowhere have this idea of how to stand up. It's important knowing how to stand up in the middle of a fight when someone is on top of you. And that is something that's seriously lacking in the curriculum of many jiu-jitsu gyms.
It's just built on the idea that, say for example, you're in bottom turtle. You have a ton of options, but all those options should be built upon the threat of standing up. Because a lot of jiu-jitsu guys will get a guy in turtle wrestlers or referee position. The wrestler will just separate the hands and run away. And the jiu-jitsu guy doesn't try to work out why he can't hold someone down in turtle. Those escapes are effective. I feel like a high-level wrestler early in jiu-jitsu will do wrestling specific things to get killed. But as a wrestler, like say Jason Knoll, if we train with Jason Knoll, he hasn't done a lot of grappling. But he's done enough to be better than most purple belts I've ever trained. So it's like they obviously do a lot. It can be we can steal for jiu-jitsu and for MMA. I mean, I'm over 30 now, so I'm in the half guard camp, I think. But I'm in the reverse of it. Rather than pull half guard, I'd rather try to force half guard from top. I'm of the opinion side control top is a bad position. There's much better places to be than that position. Jiu-jitsu is turning more into pins, pin escapes, and takedowns.
So, as Craig Jones says, someone who hasn't done a lot of grappling and is doing the folk style, freestyle meta of stand-ups is going to get caught in a lot of chokes. But once you start building your defense of rear naked chokes, you will inevitably have more success with this strategy, because the biggest and most glaring vulnerability is them attacking your back. But what's already built into the cake of the folk style, freestyle wrestling crowd is standing up and removing hooks, for instance. People do leg rides, or what we call in jiu-jitsu hooks. They put in their hooks. And there's tons of ways to deal with that in the folk style. Obviously, you have to mesh that in with the defense of your neck as well as your arms, and so on and so forth. But what Craig Jones is basically saying here with pins, pin escapes, and takedowns is wrestling, folk style wrestling to be specific. And in the case of what he is speaking about for the future meta and what's going forward, this is very similar to what we see in ADCC and what I assume to be the judging in the Pit Submission Series in Karate Combat, aka for us, Jitz in the Pit. And it's worth noting for this type of scenario because if grappling is going a certain direction and we want to see it more exciting, we want there to be more action, we don't want to see people just laying on their back and stalling, then and as well we don't want to train to stall and just lay flat on our back while somebody just flaps around trying to make you react so they can get something. I mean, in reality, you shouldn't be flat on the ground in any fight situation waiting for the other person to do. There's punches, there's a lot of dangerous things that are happening. So not only is it more realistic, not only is it more exciting, but it also is mimicking, well, I guess that goes to realistic. It's mimicking a real fight scenario. And the top jiu-jitsu minds are also seeing this and willing to share it with everyone. They're not, these guys aren't just saying it because they're BSers. Craig Jones literally has an entire instructional, which I have, called Just Stand Up. And it's, absolutely phenomenal. Let me start with that. But it's folk style wrestling with a little bit of alteration for pro-grappling or submission grappling. And he already says this himself. I believe he talks about Eduardo Teles and his octopus stand-up stuff. And also, I think he discusses folk style to his own credit in the video. So we're going to move into a video from B Team revolving an Ashigurami counter. And we will see the main speaker in the video. He'll discuss being more athletic and getting to that same athletic position that Ryan Hall was discussing in his clip.
What's going on, guys? Here's one of my favorite counters to cross Ashigurami using a wedge and back take. So from here, my opponent has me in cross Ashigurami. We're going to be down on the ground. All right, now from here, I'm going to look to free my secondary leg, and I start going into a turning shape where I thumb post inside my opponent's knee like so. I'm going to front pommel my left leg to build up to my left knee as I free my right knee here. Now, from this position, I'm going to look to pommel my left leg in front of my opponent's hip, ultimately get into this position. I'll look to turn towards my opponent's feet, open up my right knee, and control the top hip. Once I'm in this position, I can start transitioning to a trap and hip grip as I throw in my left hook. And now with an extension of my left leg, pulling on my right hand and a pushing of my left arm, I can start getting my opponent's back like so, going for the finish.
So I let the video play all the way through, but what we're looking for is actually about halfway through. We'll let him discuss this, getting into the position, and we're going to discuss this, getting his leg free, boom, and bear, boom. Let me get his thumb in there, boom. Now, if we look here and we compare it to the Ryan Hall position, which I'll clip in right there, we'll see the same foot, forearm post on the ground. We've got this leg retracted so that there's this space here now that he can retreat to if he turns, which once again, if he were to escape the direction, it would be this direction away by facing his hips that direction first and then going that direction. It's hard to move in a direction that your hips aren't facing. It's not obviously impossible. You can do bladed and lateral movement, but in a hands to feet scenario, like if you were to compare it to a sprinter's starting position, you have a lot more leverage, power, and control, coordination, kinetic ability, not only, or not kinetic ability, but kinetic touch with not only yourself but the opponent. To do that, we're going to watch as he swivels his hips out. Watch, he's going to retract his foot all the way through and swivel through, boom, into a 4-pointed position. It's this knee on the ground, his far leg that's behind Krellin. Is that? I don't know who that is anymore. I'm not going to say the wrong name. That guy. This hand also is there, so it's like a double whammy times 2. So that's 2 points right there, and then another point right there. That far arm. So we're in a 4-point position. He's keeping that thumb post because he wants to maintain the free knee to free his knee. Okay, giving his opponent, this guy, the opportunity to pull his leg back in is a backward step. So he's pushing down here. This video is about following up with a wedge and taking a back wedge take, or whatever you want to, whatever you called it. Regardless what it's called, okay, we're just looking for this position that we were just at. Boom. Putting his hand back there, boom, pressing it down. We're back into that position. Okay, in this next vid, we're going to see Tai Rotullo, a grappling wonderkin, champion in one championship, and definitely future Hall of Famer. He is going to go into this grappling exchange at a disadvantage, be brought down to the 4-point position. He's going to attempt what is called a switch in folk style wrestling, and then he is going to execute a hip bump sweep, which every jiu-jitsu practitioner is like, oh yeah, I know that. I stopped doing that in white belt. It doesn't work on anybody anymore. But it actually does when you add it in a chain wrestling sequence like Tai does in this sequence. So I'm gonna let you guys watch it. It's very short, and then 17 seconds, and then I'll comment on it and point out once again that position. Let me know if you see it before I point it out. Okay, we start here with Tai having a collar tie and his opponent having a grip underneath the tricep. He's going to do a nice little bit of wrestling right here with a passing the arm over his head, changing levels, attacking the hips, and popping out on the other side in a standing back take. Okay, he's got his back standing. Okay, let's clear that off the scene. Let's watch it happen and fold. Pulls it. Tries to take him down. Tai might go to a 4-point. He's standing. He's pretty balanced. Trying to do something. Trying to take him down with that leg. Didn't really work. Sat down and did that switch. We'll watch this one more time here. Kicking the legs, takes him to the ground. Boom. He sits to his butt. It happens so quickly. Takes it to the bump sweep. Let me see if I can really, right here. Okay. He fell to his butt, and threaded that leg inside, as opposed to threading the leg on the outside of this and putting his foot in the ankle like Ryan Hall was doing in his video. Okay? He's putting this leg across and underneath. He's also reaching here underneath this leg for a switch. It can sometimes result in a single leg. It can sometimes result in him being able to turn that corner of the shoulder by leaning back and applying pressure to that joint via this lever right here. This lever. Close that all out. Start again. He is also applying pressure via this knee hook, keeping him away, which allows him to, once he finished threading, which we'll see in a second. Let's go and let that happen for a second. Boom. Now we see how he's able to get to that hip sweep, being able to bump this leg into this hip right here. He still has this arm in his groin / single leg area that he's reaching for. This is causing an immense amount of pressure on this shoulder, causing him to break down his posture. Even though he's attacking, he's breaking down his posture by reaching there. It's a very intricate series of movements. He then is going to block this elbow, releasing this switch, and taking this hip over, bumping him into what we call a hip bump sweep. Boom, there it is. Classic. A lot of people is like, wow, I would not think that I would see this at such a high level. But when you combine folk style wrestling, you'll see the reoccurring patterns like this. Letting it happen one more time in the background here. It happened so quick. Something beautiful to watch. Boom. It was a chain wrestling sequence. It's like a sequence of okay, this is not working, so I'm already ahead a step, preparing to go take guard. This pressure is working. Take him over into the sweep bump. Now he's in top mount. Hey guys, edit. This originally had some videos from the legend Kerry Colat, his channel on YouTube, which is at the top of the search results when you look up Switch, stand up, and various wrestling search terms, because of his wide library of shorts, which are all techniques for wrestling. That is obviously high level. He's a NCAA wrestling coach, wrestling legend. So no wonder he's the first in the results. And I was showing in this clip that you can find now on Bitchute, and I'll link in the description below, the easy access that you have by just going to YouTube, like second largest search engine on the internet, and just typing in some of these terms: switch, technical stand-up, or wrestling stand-up, etc. There's also, like I said earlier in the video, resources like Craig Jones' Just Stand Up. There are also videos from Snake Pit USA, videos on scientific wrestling, and just look up catch wrestling stand up. There's variations from Wigan and Catch Wrestling Alliance over in the West Coast. So just check it out. There's plenty of information to be jumping into. It's just that it got flagged for copyright, so it got deleted, and it's taken me this long to actually come back around. I was hoping that he would remove the copyright strike or whatever, but Instead, you guys get some extra content. I'm going to discuss what I'm trying to convey in this video. The main point that I'm trying to make in this video is to show the interplay or the relation between the threat of standing up and the ability to create scrambles and make grappling more dynamic. Not just for obviously the grappler. This is not just this is more exciting to watch, but for the grappler, this is another threat that you are throwing at your opponent. Like, I can stand up. I know how to stand up, and I can stand up at any time. I'm this position we're playing through, but at any time they have to be like, oh, I have to keep this person down, pin them, which stops them what they're doing, stops their cycle, and now they have to stop cycle and say pin. Okay, that is if they're not pinning first before they move forward in their advancement. And there's different styles. Obviously, there's no perfect style. There's a lot of ways to play the game. I want to, though, negatively comment on stalling. Stalling isn't a legitimate way to play the game, nor is it a legitimate strategy in real life to stall. You need to practice going for the finish of your opponent, going to stop the threat. Needless to say, this whole threat of standing up really links back to CACC wrestling, which doesn't really get enough credit. I mean, what we're doing in the Olympics this year, which is happening as we speak, as I record this, in Paris, 2024. What we see in high school, folk style wrestling, collegiate wrestling, freestyle, this is all amateur CACC wrestling. And so it's easy for them to understand, oh, I need to stand up, I need to go, okay? But from when I began, and for a long time, the idea of like, okay, I have guard, stand up, or get out from underneath and just stand up was kind of not only foreign to many people. They're like, I need to escape, I need to regain guard, and now I can use my guard. I need to get behind them or something like that. It was in some cases, and in my case, I came from a wrestling background. I was wrestling in high school. And then during my sophomore year, I started doing jiu-jitsu back in 2006. But I had been doing like jiu-jitsu before that, but through VHS and my brother, who actually went to a BJJ school. So, you know what I mean? It was when I started training, kind of like, you know, you don't want to stand up. I found ways from the guillotine underneath to just get up and stand up into a headlock, basically. Get out from underneath. And now it seems to be very mainstream, very common. But I also understand teaching a BJJ beginner not to give up their back so easily, because defending the choke is a skill that's hard to hone, because it's a very high pressure in foreign waters, deep foreign waters. If you have never done it or have only done it a couple times, to be constantly fighting somebody off your back. Once you've built up your defense, your possible pass wave, gotten reps in, maybe you've done, I don't know, these task-based games or positional drilling, as the Danaher Death Squad will do, or positional sparring. It's like you see even high caliber Jiu-Jitsu Terra wrestlers, MMA fighters, when they get in the back, they panic a little bit. There's a little bit of panic, and for rightfully so. I mean, the Mateleo is called Mateleo because suppose you can kill a lion, and somebody choked out a lion, whatever. And it's such a powerful position, undoubtedly. But when you start getting into and it's one of the most common submissions in grappling and MMA, closely followed by the heel hook. But now I think the heel hook's kind of overtaking the rear naked choke, because in Gnogis, at least, because people are getting very comfortable in having the back taken and getting out of there. And with the whole just stand up, with the whole catch can wrestling, I don't know, it's like a reformation, if you will. It's starting to surge again. This attack, this rather standing up becomes an attack. It becomes, you're on the defensive, but now standing up, it changes the dynamic in a way that creates holes, it creates space, it creates the ability to scramble, and it's way easier. Watch Derek Lewis. Why is Derek Lewis so can just stand up on people? Oh, he's big. No, he has, what he's doing fundamentally can be done by anyone if you really see what he's doing. His frame is really good for it. He's probably done these moves so many times because it's like second nature to him, where he just like lets people get a side mount on him so he can just stand up. He just stands up. It's crazy. All that said, I'm rambling now. This dynamic athletic position that we see here is all in the vein of trying to stand up, because even in that stack pass and cross ashi from the B team, you're standing up on your legs so that you can then apply pressure down and then remove or run away, stand up and get away, as I showed in the instructional there. We also see in the switch position, he has the ability to stand back up. He has the ability to attack around the corner with a switch, which is something that you can see a little bit more in the Bitchute version, which is in copyright struck, where just has the videos of Kerry Colat where he's showing the switches. And you can just look, there's a lot of ways, and there's even an instructional that I cite in my video, the switch in BJJ, which you can get on BJJ Fanatics. Free plug. I should get a stipend from these people. I'm constantly plugging their stuff, but I want you guys to learn. If I'm learning, I want you guys to learn, and I want to give good material. I want to know what you guys think. I know that I've been going on here for whatever, fucking extra 10 minutes, but this extra little is not just for y'all. It's for me. It's like as a training journal or a philosophical grappling journal where I'm seeing these things interplay, and I'm like, it's about standing up. It's about standing up. Even if it's not just standing up to get away, sometimes it's stand up to stack, whatever. You need to, or to get to a more neutral position as opposed to being underneath. This threat is so like second like nature to wrestlers, and it's kind of erased when you start BJJ. But once you get past the blue belt, maybe even sometimes purple belt, depending on your instructor level, like, okay, I can defend the back and I can give up my back because this threat of standing up is such a serious threat that adding it to my game will make it more three-dimensional, have more depth. And I'm not saying that this will be the new net meta for everyone. I'm not saying that this is the glass cannon or whatever, this is the secret weapon for everything. It's a part of grappling that no one's really talking about, that's not in most BJJ schools, because I've over time have gone to many BJJ, been on many mats, and have seen this and the discussion and seen this in play as the time has gone on, and there's more stand up, which I love to see as a wrestler. I love wrestling still. It's interesting to see it all happen, and I love it, and when we don't talk about something like this that should really be a part of one of the pathways on your BJJ map or whatever you're doing, standing up is like a legitimate situation, with a caveat that you should have your defense down first, like have it all ready so you're not like getting completely dog walked by your superiors in the BJJ world, or just your superiors in the wrestling world. I mean, where we got no belts, where the only belt that matters is gold. Am I right, fellas? So there you have it. Definitely take this and let me know what you guys think. I'm going to be doing some more uh, research. I'm searching again what other people have searched already and trying to put together some ideas and continue like putting this blip on the radar of certain wrestling fundamental moves and wrestling strategies, and just the way there's like a modality of what we're doing. You know what I mean? How we're training, how we're attacking, how we view a grappling match. Let's bring some of that back, guys. Let's bring it back. It has it ever gone? No, it's not really ever gone. But let's bring it to a more conscious level where we're not really discussing it. We're so like BJJ, Jitz. Let's do the Jitz. But the wrestling. This is wrestling. This is judo. This is Kosen Jiu-Jitsu. This is the ancient art of primal warfare and imposing a will on another man. So this is not something that is just like, okay, just jits. I'm going to look at this little library, and there is a lot of a lot of open minds and characters in jiu-jitsu that go and branch out, sumo and this, that, and all the other. But we have to have it in our lexicon, and we have to start realizing that there is a pool of talent, folk style wrestlers, collegiate wrestlers that need to be initiated into this system, and they'll add their escapes and stand-ups and what they develop when they enter the system of grappling, like catch wrestling or jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, American jiu-jitsu, or whatever, what have you. You know what I mean? Whatever catch jitsu, whatever name you have for your thing. I think that it is a family of wrestling and grappling, just call it grappling if you want, and we should have this lexicon that isn't whether it's like in our, I don't know if you can, training lexicon, our training catalog, our mindset, our cube of what we put in there in our box to train. And we only talk jiu-jitsu, but like wrestling has some things that clearly cross over, and sometimes I'm still discovering things about like wrestling. I'm like, oh my god, look at this position. I find myself in this position. They have series after series after series in wrestling that is completely applicable of people who've been like working through that, and maybe not all of it's applicable for like a grappling match, but I'm telling you, a lot of it is. So anyway, guys, do your thing. Comment, like, subscribe if you like this. Check out the other, I think like extra 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe. I don't know, but I ramble on Bitchute. Description below. Let me know what's up. Holler at your boy. Stay up, stay vigilant, stay locked and loaded. Shalom, shalom. Peace and